Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make a wooden spiral pen or pencil holder. You can really do this however you want. You can make it a little taller with a deeper hole and put a glass vase inside and make a flower vase out of it. That's kind of a modern look. But today I'm going to be showing you how to make a pen or pencil holder just because I'm going to be taking this to college and I thought it'd look really cool on my desk. It's really easy to make. It didn't take much time at all. And obviously being just plywood, it's really cheap and just kind of a fun look to it. So let's go ahead and get started. So go ahead and start by sanding off your piece. Just remove any dirt or unwanted marks. Not too important because the majority of this is going to be covered. Only the edges on the side will be visible, but it's just nice to have it all removed beforehand so you don't have to go back, and it's kind of tricky to sand later. Okay, so now it's time to cut your plywood. So I wanted my pieces to be 4x4, and so I went ahead and just measured 4 inches off the blade to the guide and then cut my 2 strips from there. And then when you're using a guide, you just want to make sure that the end that's butted up against the guide is nice and flat, because if it's not, then you're going to run into some issues with your 2 pieces not being symmetrical. Okay, so now it's time to cut out all your squares. So depending on how tall you want to make it and the thickness of your plywood you're using, this could take a little bit of time, but it's really not too bad. Okay, so now we're going to make this little holder here to hold the squares when we're using the drill press. This is not required, but I highly recommend it just because it really speeds things up and makes the holes you drill much more accurate, so everything lines up once you are putting everything together. Okay, so now we're going to mark and find where the center of our little squares are. So you're going to go ahead and take a straight edge and then draw lines corner to corner. Just do 2 of them where they intersect. And the nice part about making that little holder we made is you only have to do this 1 time, because then you can just plop the rest in and it'll already be in the center. Now it's time for us to drill out all the individual little circles and all the squares. So you're going to want to go ahead and line up the pilot screw with where the lines intersect on your little square, and then you want to clamp everything down. And then just once you have everything secured, make sure to go back and double check before you start drilling to make sure that nothing moved in the process of clamping it down. So I decided to sand my edges by just using a sanding stone. You don't need to do this, but I just kind of wanted to soften them up a little bit. And if you do decide to sand it, just make sure you do it in this step, because if you wait to do it after you assemble it, it's much more difficult. So now time for the assembly. So when you're doing this, you want to work upside down from the top to the bottom, just so your nails are hidden and it looks a lot nicer. And then you're also going to use something that is the same diameter as the holes you drilled and use it as a guide, so all you have to worry about is rotating your pieces. So I went ahead and used just a short little screw to gauge how far I needed to rotate each one of my pieces. And this works pretty well. You can use whatever you want. Just remember to keep your rotation fairly small, because if you get too much, then it kind of looks funny. So you can kind of do however you want though, but that I found just works to be the best. And then I went ahead and stacked 4 on top of each other before I put my first nail in, just because I was using 1 1/4 nails and my plywood was kind of thin, so I didn't want it going through the top, obviously.
this part can be a little difficult because you no longer have your guide to help you with your alignment. So this will also depend on how tall you want to make it and how deep you want your holes to go. So I could have technically ended it right here if I wanted it kind of short, but I kind of wanted to make it taller, but the hole didn't need to be that deep just because it was going to hold my pens and pencils. So I went ahead and wanted to extend it by a little bit, and so I just put a couple of these ones with no holes in. But again, just remember you kind of got to eyeball it up, make sure that you're not leaning to one side, and just make sure your rotation's kept the same, and just keep everything squared.
Alright, there you have it. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, found it useful, and will inspire you guys to go out